Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. And at the risk of patronizing the overall chairman, let me just say, as I said earlier today, reimagining the appropriations process for this Congress has been a challenge for a number of years, dating all the way back to the time, Mr. Secretary, that you were serving in this great body. But this guy to my right that's about to speak deserves a lot of credit for moving us toward a much more perfect and meaningful process. He's done it skillfully, he's done it very patiently, and against great odds. And I want the public to know how grateful I am and how grateful this committee is for the work of our overall chairman, Mr. Tom Cole of Oklahoma. You're recognized, sir, for 5 minutes.
Thank you for that very generous and fulsome praise, but I can tell you any success I had wouldn't happen without my friend, the ranking member, because this is a bipartisan exercise and appropriation. It always is. And I'm particularly proud of this subcommittee because of the bipartisanship that exists between its chairman and its ranking member and how well they've worked together. So thank all of you and thank all the other members for being here. Secretary Duffy, welcome back to THUD. Thank you so much for appearing before this subcommittee again and for your continued leadership and service. I particularly want to commend you for your commitment to modernizing our air traffic control systems. Upgrading aging air traffic control infrastructure is long overdue, and your leadership and urgency on this issue are exactly what is needed. As we move through fiscal year 2027, I remain focused on maintaining responsible investments in our nation's transportation system. As Chairman Womack has already stated, your team has already made exceptional efforts to ensure that we're investing taxpayer money in infrastructure and safety improvements that are worthwhile, taking a hard look at thousands of funding decisions to make sure they deliver real results for the American people. You're to be commended for that. This subcommittee furthered these efforts in the FY 2027 bill under Chairman Womack and Ranking Member Clyburn's leadership, supporting programs that improve infrastructure while scrutinizing those that are wasteful and duplicative. But make no mistake, we've not sacrificed DOT safety mission in that process. Over the past 3 fiscal years, this subcommittee has made the hiring and training of new air traffic controllers a top priority. In our FY27 bill, we're supporting 2,300 new controller candidates on top of the 2,500 we funded in FY26, reflecting the committee's commitment to rebuilding the controller workforce that keeps our skies safe and the economy moving. I also want to recognize your personal interest and support for the Mike Monroney Center in Oklahoma City and your determination to supercharge controller hiring across the board. That attention has made a real difference, and it reflects a genuine understanding of what this facility means to the safety of our entire aviation system. We have the land, the facilities, the world-class staff in Oklahoma City to ensure that controllers receive in-person, focused, and state-of-the-art training. I'll continue to fight for the funding that this center needs to modernize and expand, and I'll frankly push back any efforts to decentralize or weaken what we've built there. This commitment extends beyond controllers alone. Aviation safety depends on a full complement of qualified safety personnel across the FAA. I will also reiterate my steadfast commitment to prioritize investments in tribal and rural areas. And the FY27 bill under Mr. Womack's leadership demonstrates that commitment. Nearly 70% of America's road miles are in rural areas, and about 145,000 of those miles are on roads that pass through tribal lands. These communities face notable challenges and have different needs from urban areas. As we move through the appropriations process, I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to fund the critical safety missions and transportation infrastructure needs of the country. With that, again, thank you, Chairman Womack, for holding this hearing, and thank you, Secretary Duffy, for appearing before it.
I thank the chairman. And what I said about Mr. Cole goes for the ranking member as well, Ms. DeLauro of Connecticut. it is a true partnership, and we're grateful for your leadership as well, ma'am. And I recognize you for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and it is an honor for me to work with both you and Ranking Member Clyburn, to work with you and Chairman Cole as we make sure that the appropriations process is as strong as it needs to be, and that it is really where the power of the purse resides. And thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for testifying today. We look forward to your testimony and to hearing your answers to our questions. America's transportation infrastructure is crucial. It's crucial to the economic health of our country. It connects communities, expands prosperity, extends opportunities to people across this country, from big cities to small towns. Unfortunately, the president's budget request proposes substantial cuts to many of the programs and initiatives that Americans rely on. The budget proposes to cut $327 million from Amtrak, including $200 million from the Northeast Corridor and $127 million from the national network. Amtrak is crucial to my home state of Connecticut, where nearly 1,000 of their employees are based. More than 2 million travelers were served by Amtrak in Connecticut in 2025, and they facilitate an incalculable quantity of economic activity. Investing in this service they provide is essential for supporting so many of my constituents. So I'm disappointed to see such steep cuts proposed in the president's budget. It's crucial that this administration restore Americans' faith in the safety and security of air travel. Following a series of tragic incidents last year, I understand that the FAA recently revised downward their projections for necessary air traffic controllers, the staffing levels, to maintain safe skies by roughly 2,000 positions. And as we approach some of the busiest travel months of the year, the administration needs to do everything it can to provide the American people with the assurance that they will be safe in our skies. We need to know what is needed as an Appropriations Committee to be able to provide the resources needed to keep people safe, to keep our aircraft moving, making the airspace more efficient. The American people are struggling every day with the rising cost of living, and robust transportation infrastructure is key to connecting people with the well-paying jobs that they need to stay afloat. Transportation, I think we all concur, is an economic engine, and our investment in it must meet the needs that the American people face. So, Secretary Duffy, I look forward to your testimony today, and I look forward to the interaction with our questions and answers. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Duffy, your full written statement will be included in the record, and at this time, I recognize you for 5 minutes to summarize your remarks.
Chairman Womack, Chairman Cole, Chairman Rogers as well, Ranking Member Clyburn and DeLauro, thank you for having me. It's good to be back in the House. It's great to have such wonderful attendance, even though you guys are supposed to be gassed. You're all here. It's great for me. I hope today we do have a chance to talk about what Mr. Clyburn mentioned about the bridges. It's an issue. And he also mentioned, and we all know this, that our infrastructure has a C rating. And I think as we sit here together, this is probably the most bipartisan place in this whole body. We all work together because there is not a Republican road or a Democrat bridge. There's not a Republican safe airport or a Democrat safe airport. We are all in this together as one American family, and doing this together, I think is critically important. And Chairman Cole, I would agree with you on tribal lands as well, making sure that is not forgotten in rural places like where I come from. The road less traveled is one that I have been on for a very long time. So to the committee, thank you for having me. And again, it's good to be back in the House. For the past 16 months, with your support, the Department of Transportation has been hard at work delivering wins for the American people. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to revitalize the critical infrastructure that millions of Americans rely on every single day. From our runways, to our roads, to our railroads, we have upgraded our national infrastructure, invested in the backbone of our economy, and made life safer for American families. We are aggressively moving to clear the backlog of 3,200 grants that were left behind in the last administration. Our goal is simple: to ensure that these grants deliver safe, enduring infrastructure that will serve Americans for generations to come. At the FAA, we have kickstarted a historic overhaul of our air traffic control system. This was made possible because of this Congress, and I'm grateful for that. Thanks to the Working Families Tax Cut Act, we received $12.5 billion as a down payment to begin deploying state-of-the-art equipment across our airports and NAS, and that work is underway. We replaced 50% of legacy copper wiring, converted 278 radio sites, installed 58 new surface awareness systems, and transitioned 17 towers to electronic flight strips. But technology is nothing without people. We need the people, our air traffic controllers. So since March, we've hired a record-breaking 2,400 air traffic controllers. And we had an innovative gamer campaign. We realized at the Academy, as we surveyed the students, out of 250 surveyed, all of them but 3 are gamers. And so we made a pitch to the gamers. By the way, they have multiple screens. They're problem solving and they're talking at the same time. We received over 12,000 applications in 24 hours to be an air traffic controller. It was quite historic. We smashed the old records. It was a great ad campaign. But it is truly bringing in the best and the brightest who want to serve their country and they're concerned about safety. And I think these are the young men and women we're bringing into this field that is so important. We're also restoring integrity and safety to the American trucking industry. It was a policy of the last administration to allow for unqualified foreign drivers to get behind the wheel of a truck. Those days are no more. We just saw an incident in California a couple days ago, maybe it was yesterday. I think we all have to work together to have the right policy in place to make sure that our roads are safe. And what should that policy look like? I have my ideas on what we need to do together. We've worked with states to cancel 28,000 illegally issued licenses for unqualified foreign drivers, and we're holding some states that aren't cooperating accountable. We all need to follow the same rules. We've also knocked more than 20,000 drivers out of service for failing to meet basic requirements, like reading our road signs or being able to communicate with law enforcement. These changes aren't just keeping you and your family safe on the road, they have added benefits to boosting wages for the great American truckers who serve our communities every single day. Our commitment to historic safety standards is already delivering historic results. In 2025, we successfully reduced roadway deaths by 6.7% across the nation. Mr. Clyburn, I'd be happy to talk to you more about what's happening in South Carolina, but the numbers nationally have come down, and that is a good thing. This is the 5th largest drop in roadway deaths in the history of DOT. So we're making progress. We have a long way to go. We're at 36,000 plus deaths a year, still way too many, but we're making progress. We're going in the right direction. We're working on our Freedom to Drive initiative, working on bottlenecks across the country, making sure we can alleviate traffic snares. I'm going to try to move through this quickly, but I want to talk about what we're doing collaboratively with states to finally make transit safe and clean and dependable. I'm a Republican, and I recognize that our states do not work. Our cities don't work if we don't have good transit systems. But I do think we should expect from those systems that they are clean, that they're safe, that people want to ride them. You should have your 16-year-old daughter should be able to take the subway or the transit system at 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday. And if we don't hit that standard, we have work to do together to make sure the bar is high for us, to make sure that people want to ride and they can safely ride, because a lot of people can't afford to ride other forms of transportation. So I think we owe it to our fellow brothers and sisters. I would like to just mention before I turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman, I would at one point like to talk about the Merchant Marine Academy. For those of you who've been there, that's wonderful. If you haven't been, I'd ask you to go. These are some of the most amazing young men and women, have such great heart. And their academy was built in the 1940s after World War II. And it's, as a service academy, as Americans, I don't think our young men and women deserve to have the buildings, the heating systems, the lack of dishwashers. I believe that either we have to invest in this academy and in these young people, or I love that I have it and you have it on this committee, but if we're not going to make the investments, you got to shut it down. Maybe you got to give it to the Navy, and I don't want you to do that, but we can't let these kids, the American men and women in this academy, have this kind of infrastructure. We can't, and because we let it go for so long, it's going to take a lot of money. And that's the decision that you all have to make, but I'll plead with you, because if you haven't been there, go see it and talk to the midshipmen, and you'll be heartened to see the men and women that want to serve this country and be mariners. So I've gone way over, Mr. Chairman. I apologize for that. I'm looking forward to your questions, and thanks for having me again.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And on the subject of the Merchant Marine Academy, there's a couple of kids from my hometown in Rogers that will be incoming freshmen, class of 2030. So you have my commitment to visit the Merchant Marine Academy.
Thank you.
We owe that to you. We have typically start with the leadership of the subcommittee, but today I'm going to yield first to Mr. Shreve of Indiana. He is performing double duty today. Not only is he a member of this subcommittee, but he's also engaged in the markup on T&I on the Surface Transportation Bill. And so at this time, I'm going to recognize Mr. Shreve for any questions he may have. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I appreciate this privilege, Mr. Secretary. Thank you for appearing before us. Thank you for spending some time in my state, looking at a bridge project and many other things. I am the newest member of this subcommittee, so this is a particular privilege. And I serve on T&I, where we're obviously wrestling with the surface reauthorization today. And so there's a lot going on 2 floors down. I'm looking at this as a new member, but through the lens of both the appropriator and an authorizer. I am from Indianapolis, where we met last time. My district runs south and east. Our motto back home is we're the crossroads of America, and that's not just a slogan. Indianapolis, my district, includes material portions of I-65, I-70, I-74, I-69. I've got parts of I-465. We're a major short line rail state. We're talking a little bit about rail safety today and beyond, 2 floors down. The Indianapolis International Airport's in my district. It is the top-ranked mid-sized airport in our country, and it's the home to the 2nd largest FedEx air hub. So there's my pitch for Indiana's 6th district. Hoosiers know how to move freight. And we also know what happens when the system fails. In recent years, Hoosier families have suffered tragedies involving commercial drivers who should not have been behind the wheel of 80,000 pound rigs. Secretary Duffy, you have taken steps at your department, including stronger English language enforcement for commercial drivers and broader push to remove unsafe drivers from our highways. I want to focus on what our Congress can do to help you finish the job. Our protections are only as strong as the systems we rely upon. That's why I'm co-leading legislation to modernize DHS's SAVE system, so immigration status checks to non-domiciled CDLs come back currently and quickly. Indiana has been cracking down since April 1st. Just since April 1st, our state has revoked 1,800 non-domiciled CDLs. What else does this Congress need to codify or fund to help your department and FMCSA keep ineligible and unsafe drivers off of our roads?
Thank you, Congressman. Not bad at freight and okay at basketball in Indiana. And I appreciate your work on the SAVE Act. That's important, on the SAVE system. So I want us to be clear to everybody on the committee. The issues we've had with commercial driver's licenses has been a nationwide problem. There's not a difference between a Democrat state and a Republican state. Alike, all the states perform poorly, meaning they're giving commercial driver's licenses to people who maybe should not have been in the country at all. They were illegal. Or others who had come into the country in the last 4 years, and they were given a driver's license for way longer than their work permit. And so we've now modified the rules, and we're not allowing for the new rules on commercial driver's licenses to operate that way anymore. One of the problems we have, though, is I don't have the authority to retroactively look at all the thousands, tens of thousands of commercial driver's licenses that were previously issued, and encourage or incentivize states to take those drivers off the road. And just one of the issues at play here is for an American truck driver to get a commercial driver's license, we look at their record. Do they have drunk driving? Do they have speedings? Like, who are they as a driver? We'll look at their criminal records, so we get a full purview into who these men and women are that are going to drive these 80,000-pound rigs. When we've had people come into the country recently, it's very challenging for us to look at their records. And so we don't know who they are. What is their driving record? And I think that's creating some risk to the system. And if you're going to church or you're going to Walmart, you should be safe. These should be the best drivers on the road, not some of the ones that are killing our families.
So I'm hearing that you don't have the data sharing tools or all those tools that your department needs.
I don't have all the authority that I need, and I would like to work with this committee in a bipartisan way to talk about what should it look like, what should the rules be, and look forward and look back.
I appreciate that.
Can I mention one other thing? We just launched the MODIS system where we have a lot of these chameleon carriers. And they are, you'll have one address that has 100 or 150 trucking companies at one PO box or one address. And just, you guys see this across the spectrum. The technology's old.
Yeah.
And we have a hard time dissecting all the information. So MODIS has come out, a new software system that's allowing us to actually have purview. You can't have 100 or 10 or 5 trucking companies from in one PO box. That'll be a sign of fraud. We should also have a conversation of, do we want foreign operators in Eastern Europe or somewhere else to own trucking companies in the U.S. and have 100 trucking companies? We're seeing some fraud with that as well. We could work together on tightening up those rules that will drive the safety and reduce fraud.
Mr. Secretary, I would love to delve deeper into the problem of chameleon carriers, but I so appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Shreve. I'll recognize myself now for 5 minutes. Mr. Secretary, the 26 THUD bill requires build awards to be based solely on the selection criteria in statute. That criteria include the extent to which a project improves safety, quality of life, economic competitiveness, state of good repair, and cost effectiveness. Your FY26 build NOFO issued in December includes project labor agreements as part of the economic competitiveness consideration for applicants. But I want to talk about that for just a minute, because I think every state that has, and my staff can correct me if I'm wrong, every state that has an anti-PLA law is represented on this appropriations committee. So can you walk the committee through your rationale to add PLA preferences back into the NOFO?
So the PLA's option is in there, but I believe there's 10 criteria. So a state like Arkansas would not be penalized at all if you're one of the 22 states that don't allow for PLAs. There's no penalty to your state in access to the built grants. It's one of 10 factors that can be considered in the process. So it's not exclusionary at all.
What specific analyses or procurement reviews or economic calculations has the department conducted to evaluate whether a PLA preference makes are economically competitive? Can you help me understand what background you have to make those determinations?
Well, we'll look at, we'll ask for data to be submitted, information to be submitted, but we want good projects, and projects that we're not going to spend just a lot of money on to spend money. We want the deliverable, and does it make economic sense as well? And so we'll ask for information from the project sponsor, and then we'll analyze that. And I'm not to shock anybody, but sometimes people fudge information to us, and we have to go through and suss out the truth of the information that was submitted. make a determination.
Well, I asked the question only because we want to make sure that non-union states, like my state of Arkansas, can remain competitive. And it's good to know that they're not going to be punished for having those types of prohibitions. Finally, as you know, I've championed funding to address the chronic shortage of safe parking for American truckers. Our 27 bill made another installment in this priority. The trucking industry, state DOTs, and local communities are watching closely to see how the department moves on these grants. This is not a single agency problem. It crosses the Federal Highways Infrastructure Portfolio and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's Safety and Hours of Service mission. It's not just a convenience issue. Tired drivers who cannot find a legal, safe place to stop are a safety hazard. Then you don't have to drive America's interstates, particularly at sundown, to understand where these truckers are finding some relief. They're on our exit ramps and entry ramps. Can you provide us with an update on the implementation of this program, and specifically when you anticipate the release of a NOFO?
Yeah, so first, I appreciate the committee's work in making sure. I believe it was $200 million for truck parking, and you're right. You go to on-ramp or off-ramp on any freeway at sundown, we have trucks pulled over. They're looking for places to park, sometimes spending upwards of an hour looking for a place to park, and it becomes a safety hazard and a safety risk for the drivers, but also for those commercial drivers. So I believe it's either this week or the start of next week that NOFO on the $200 million will come out. And if I do think if the money comes back for a second round of truck parking, I do think there could be an opportunity that we could work on. Is there a way we could expand the money that this body gives to have a public-private partnership where we bring in private capital to truly expand and give us more parking across the country on our freeways and interstates?
Are federal highways and the motor carriers working on a joint framework on this, how these funds are going to be deployed?
Well, the OST is putting out the NOFO, and we worked with all the modes, and we'll together work through the best applications. There's a thought process on how we could do that, and how we should look at where we do it. Is it sporadic, or is it on several different routes?
We have another installment that's in our bill that we marked up this morning and will be in front of the full committee in a couple of weeks, but I want to make sure that truck parking will continue to be a priority of your administration.
And I think we're going to ask for a quick turn off the NOFO so we can make determinations and get those dollars out relatively quickly.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank you.
Mr. Clyburn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I've got a safety question that is a two-parter, one involving manpower, the other methods. The first one is, we've spent about $96 million to hire new air traffic controllers, and I understand that there's been a sort of a new supercharged hiring process that is being undertaken, but it's been called to my attention that the NATCA, the Air Traffic Controllers Union, is not involved in this process at all. Could you explain why the group representing the employed was not brought into this?
That's a great question, and thank you, Congressman, for asking it. So just if you give me, I'll try to be quick. The historic level of staffing up till 2024 was the 1.87, which is what we've gone back to right now. And it was bumped up to a higher staffing level for the last 2 years. But historically, that's the number that we've determined is a safe staffing level to operate the national airspace. But because of the disagreement between the FAA that wanted the historic number and NATCA that wanted the bigger number, DeLauro, you all told me to go to the Transportation Research Board and have the Transportation Research Board, independent, nonpartisan, look at this and tell us what's right, what's the right staffing levels. And they did come back and they've said that the staffing level that we've come out with, the historic staffing level, is the right level, not the heightened one from NATCA. And by the way, I do work very well with NATCA and the team, and I'm grateful for the controllers and have a wonderful relationship with them.
Well, I hope that the relationship will continue, because I do believe, irrespective of what one's feeling may be about organized labor, when there is a legitimate group representing employees, I think, irrespective of whether or not we follow their suggestions, bringing them into the process, I think is a good thing. My other question on safety is this. Now, I understand that our commitment to modernizing your efforts has been met with some skepticism about a fee that you talked about charging in order to facilitate that modernization. Could you tell me a little bit about this fee? And
No, thank you. That was, someone had asked me a question about how could we fund this. So I would tell you, the $12.5 billion that you all gave me, by the way, that was a leap of faith. That was truly a leap of faith, because this goes back to the next gen in early 2000s. We knew this was a problem, and you all gave billions of dollars, and you never got the deliverable. And so that you were seeing all the aviation incidents, and you took a leap of faith on giving us that money, I'm grateful for, but that's not enough. So we're doing the infrastructure. I mentioned the telecom and the radios and the radars, all that's being done. But the deliverable for the American people, the magic for the American people, is going to be the software, because I think people don't want to be delayed. They don't want to be canceled. If it's a mechanical issue or it's weather, like we can't control that, but we'll have more airplanes, commercial, general, eVTOLs, drones in the airspace, and the software is a big part of it. And I don't have the money. I keep asking for money. I haven't got it yet. I'd love if you all wanted to give it to me. But if that wasn't the case, another option, I'm just an idea factory over here. If you wanted to charge a fee and put that on to come in and fund this, but I'd prefer that you all just gave me the dollars. And just if I could make one other clarification, the way this works is that you were very strict in how I could spend the $12.5 billion. I don't have a lot of latitude. I wish I had latitude to take some of the money and move it towards software development. I don't think we want to wait till the $12.5 billion is deployed and we got a better infrastructure, and then you're like, well, then let's take another 3 years and start to develop the software. Like I think we could do it all together, and that's what I'm.
Have you given us a plan of how you would do this and how much it would cost?
I have. I think I did. So I'm going to ask for. So I wanted another. Originally, I was at $31.5 billion. You gave me 12.5. Well, everyone here has a problem with a tower in their community. Everyone calls me about their towers because they're really old. I took the tower money out now, and I'm asking for $10.2 billion. I think you all are going to give me money for towers in your own districts because everybody has a problem because it's really old. But the 10.2 gives us some money for the Chicago, the Chicago tower, and then gives us the money for the software that we're going to need. And I'd happy to.
My time has expired, but
I'd welcome to sit down or give your team a call on what we want to do.
I'd like to know a little more about this fee.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much. And again, Mr. Secretary, as I said in my opening remark, we very much appreciate your focus on the Mike Monroney Center and getting a handle on this problem with the air traffic controllers, how many of them we have producing. I know that over many years, and we've gotten a high washout rate, which in some ways is reassuring because it means the standards are high and they're tough to meet. But I know you have a particular focus on trying to improve the student graduation rate. Could you tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what kind of success you're having in that regard?
So you bring up a good point. The washout rate is about 30%, and we want a washout rate. We don't want everyone that gets into the academy to graduate because you need the best ones and the right ones. 30% is too high. And so we've had some unique set of problems where we lost some students last fall, and that's brought our washout rate back up because they count as a washout. But what has been the ad campaign to bring in excited young people to be controllers, coupled with the time frame, we've truncated the time frame that you can apply until you get a seat in the academy. It's 39 days. It was pushing a year before. And by the way, that was not an easy problem to grapple with. Probably one of the most difficult problems to grapple with. How do we truncate the time? Get the physicals, get the testing, and get a spot in the academy. So that is still a work in progress, but it should be lower than 30%. But we had some unique problems in the fall.
A couple of and I'm sure you're aware of this. Recently, we had the FAA director, Mr. Bedford, out there, which was, I think, the first time we've had a visit in 7 or 8 years. Really appreciated it. Appreciated the team. Very, very impressive group that you've assembled there. Could you talk a little bit about the importance when you're training of having literally direct trainers there with them, not trying to do all of this over the internet? Makes a big difference to have real instructors in a face-to-face relationship with students.
So just to be clear, I did beat the administrator to the academy. I've been there early in my tenure. So, and it's a remarkable facility. And Oklahoma City is the hub, and they do an excellent job. But you do want hands-on, skilled training. This is not something that you do over the internet. We get experienced controllers, experienced professors to come in and give great instruction to the young men and women at the academy. And by the way, if anyone hasn't been to the academy, you should actually go and see the training facilities in Oklahoma City. It's quite remarkable. And one of the, and you know this, one of the issues that we have is the throughput through the academy. And you need to get the right professors in, the right former air traffic controllers in, so we can move students through the system. We've also offered students, because if you fall behind, you're taken out. And so we've offered tutoring services. So if you fall a little bit behind and you're an energetic, smart, young adult, we can keep you in the program. You got to still meet the scores. You still got to meet the benchmarks. But if you just need a little extra help, we're offering that to the young people who are there to get them, to get them through, and that can be helpful on the washout rate. Just a little extra time that you can give to someone can make a big difference for a great air traffic controller.
Appreciate that. I'm running up on the end of my time, but I would like to ask you to, I know, we've got the Olympics coming in 28. Unusually, Oklahoma City is actually a minor part of the site. We're not Los Angeles, but we have softball and water sports, and you've got a system of distributing the monies we vote, which seems to be working well. But could you sort of tell us where you're at in that process?
Yes. So you all sent a pot of money, and I could walk through how that money is being spent. But all of the locations for the Olympics are going to receive money. Obviously, Los Angeles is going to get a lot more for transit specifically, almost $90 million. But if you want Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma is going to be $2.5 million. And again, the less you have going on with the Olympics, the less money you're going to get in transit. Sure. The most is going to be California, and they're getting the biggest chunk of the.
Not a complaint, just wanted to flag it for you.
California might object if we gave you as much as them.
Thank you very much. I yield back.
Thank you,
Ms. DeLauro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I want to talk a little bit about rail, investments in rail, including Amtrak, critical importance to the economy, particularly to my constituents and those who live along the Northeast Corridor and rely on the service to connect them with their schools, with their jobs, including myself. I take Amtrak twice a week. And love it. So I know that the Northeast Corridor rail line is a service, it's a lifeline. It's $6 trillion to the economic region, which spans from 12 states from Virginia to Maine. The budget request that we received from the departments through OMB. In addition to that, we've historically received a grant request directly from Amtrak. This year, the Amtrak Board of Directors, which you are a member, has chosen not to submit its independent funding request to the Congress. I appreciate receiving the department's request, your views on this. But having the separate request from Amtrak in years past has been critical. It helps the committee to fully understand how best to provide the resources to meet Amtrak's needs. And while the chair of the subcommittee and I may disagree on the overall THUD bill that passed out of the subcommittee this morning, I want to say a thank you to Chairman Womack for including language that will make it a requirement for Amtrak to submit a funding request in the future. Your budget request, Mr. Secretary, $2.1 billion for Amtrak. It's a cut of $327 million from last year's funding levels. To what extent did the Federal Railroad Administration consult Amtrak when it developed the $2.1 billion estimate for fiscal year 2027?
Well, Congresswoman, it's good to see you. If you recall, we started the Ovarian Cancer Caucus together, which
remember
was
it very well.
And you have
you.
been a warrior on that issue, and I think America and those women who have ovarian cancer need someone like you to fight for them. So thank you for that. And if it's touched your life, someone in your life, you know how important it is, and this body needs to pay attention to it. So thank you for that. So we submit, as you know, there's a back and forth that we have with the administration, with OMB, and there are submissions that we make, and we work together and come up with a strategy and a set of numbers to submit to this body. But I would join you. I think that Amtrak is important. Our ridership is up. We're dynamically pricing, which as a business model, it's great. As a rider, it's not great because some of my prices go up when I'm traveling. I'd like to
Did you consult with Amtrak, though, in terms of the $2.1 billion for fiscal 2027?
Amtrak weighs in on their viewpoint, and again we work with. There's a lot of different components that go into putting this product together to submit to you.
It's my understanding, though, and I just wanted to. Your request is 327 below 2026, but the capital plan that Amtrak has laid out calls for $2.4 billion in federal appropriations, which is what they say is necessary to continue passenger operations, their capital state of good repair activities for 2027. So I've got some concern that capital and state of good repair work may go unaddressed at the lower level. What are the implications, if any, if Amtrak is funded at the lower level?
Well, I think what's happened with Amtrak is our revenues are up.
Right.
Which is
applaud that.
Which is helpful.
Northeast corridor.
People are riding, right? That's great. And by the way, in Connecticut, we've made, as I think you're aware, a lot of investments on rail. And you're a critical juncture for rail. And we've made a lot of investments there. But I think with the ridership and the extra resources that are coming in, I think that's how we see the bridge being met. As we look at what does the Congress need to provide to Amtrak, and what can Amtrak do on their own because of the great success of Amtrak in this environment, and the ridership and the dynamic pricing.
Well, I would just say, look, I'm going to look forward to hearing from an independent Amtrak as well in the future. I appreciate that, and to working with the chairman to fully understand what Amtrak needs to support its rise. I applaud, the increased ridership, et cetera, because it is such a vital and valuable economic engine. So, and that, I'm for continuing to invest in rail and building the progress that we have.
Can I mention one other thing on Amtrak? We've worked with the unions, and we've worked with other stakeholders. And I'd love to work with you as well when we get to that point, but maybe you've heard of this. We're trying to look, I don't look to Europe all the time as a model of how I want to do things, but they do rail way better than we do.
Their rail is exquisite.
And so we want to take some lessons on how they've structured their rail, and apply them here. We're the only ones that do rail this way, and I think if we rethink the model, how it's structured, not privatized, I will not, no. But I think if we do a different structure, it's going to be better for states, and I think we're going to get better purview into how the money is being spent. And so I would, as we work through that, I would welcome your input and insight into what we're thinking about. But I think we can do even better.
Look forward to that. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Now yield back.
Chairman Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, welcome home.
It's good to be home.
You had a great career here in,
Thank you, Mr.
in
Chairman.
the House, and you're doing great work where you are. You mentioned in your opening remarks about that your job is to work the family, work for the family. Well, you're an expert in that field too. Those 9 kids, you and the missus. I want to talk to you about 2 things that matter enormously in my district. The first is the Appalachian Development Highway System. The program has been a bipartisan commitment for over 50 years and remains unfinished. The corridors that still need to be built through some of the most economically isolated communities in America, and completing that system would be genuinely transformative, as we've seen in parts of the area so far. Tell me where ADHS stands in the budget and whether the administration is committed to seeing it through.
I should also say, I think I said former chairman. It's like probably saying former Marine, Mr. Chairman. Let me take a look. I want to see where that's at. I would be happy to follow up with you on where that is. And I would just note that in your state, you're right. I know in South Carolina, there's a lot of projects, big projects, and the population has changed throughout the country. And how do we look to those changes that can accommodate the American people and make the investments in the right places? So I'll follow up with you on that project.
Good, thank you.
Yes.
The second issue is emergency relief funds. Eastern Kentucky has been hit terribly, time and again, with hundreds of roads and bridges destroyed. We also know the relief program has carried a significant national backlog, at one point exceeding $8 billion, which compounds as more disasters take place. My communities can't wait years for the federal process to catch up to the damage on the ground that's there. What is the department doing to expedite emergency relief to states with outstanding disaster-related projects?
Well, the resources that you all give me, I don't have a lot of dollars there on the emergency front. They usually look to FEMA to be somewhat helpful. They have a way bigger pot of money for us. But it is looking to those areas that have been hit hard by disaster and looking how we can apply grant money to those hard hit areas. Again, American citizens that need the help of their government and their federal DOT. To make the critical investment. So if you want to talk further about what the needs are in Eastern Kentucky, I'm happy to do that. And I'm not sure if where the application process is from the state and the state DOT, but I'll get briefed up and I can give you a call.
Good, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
You're back.
Ms. Watson Coleman.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for your kind words about my retirement, and thank you for being here. Earlier this week, you were asked by Senator Gillibrand about the Gateway Tunnel project, and so this time you're going to hear from the other side of the Hudson about it. Your department notified the Gateway Development Commission, that it was reviewing the tunnel projects for civil rights violations. And on February the 9th, the Southern District of New York put an injunction so that the federal funds would continue to flow. Could you, first of all, do you appreciate how important this Gateway project is? Do you support it?
So first, I will say congratulations. Not just service in the House, but a long line of decades of government service. So thank you. And as I mentioned, you're going to, in an odd way, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss all the fights and the bickering and
You're not going to take
good
all my
times.
time up
I'm not,
saying
but
nice things to me.
But I will tell you, well, you deserve nice things to be said.
Thank you.
I do support the. Yeah, this is, as I mentioned to the senator, this is the largest project in the Western Hemisphere.
It's so vitally important. Yeah.
You have no argument for me. What we have to also follow the law, and that's what the push was on the project.
I want to ask about that specifically. What is the status of the civil rights review? What were the reasons that it was even an issue?
Well, it was there was 3 projects, and there was a lot of press and commentary about how they were going through race-based contracting. And DBE is important, and disadvantaged businesses and looking at that. But the Supreme Court said you just can't base it. One factor can be race, one factor can be sex, but that can't be the only factor. And that's what we found was the way they were doing it, and they've admitted that. They said they'll change the way they contract. And so it's the money's flowing to the project right now, but and they've agreed, no, we can't do it that way, and we won't do it that way.
What is the status of the review right now?
There's still pending litigation right now, and it's based on that review, and there's a couple factors at play, but we're going to be in a good place with the project.
So I spent a good part of my career in civil rights enforcement.
Yes.
The whole development of recognizing and remediating the impact of prior discrimination, which is a legitimate responsibility of government when putting out taxpayers' money. Can you tell me when you think that this review will be done and any barriers that exist or any concerns that raised can be addressed?
So I would tell you that this is more of a litigation issue than now, probably where we're at in the process of the review. The project sponsors, Gateway, has been very cooperative at this point, and we're working through the finer details
So can
on that.
Thank you.
But not long.
As the secretary, then, could I ask you for a commitment that there won't be any lapses while we're going through this because someone high up gets mad because things aren't moving in the direction that they'd like them to move or whatnot, that we recognize we got to get this done. This is historic.
It's a very big project. So versus something unforeseeable, of course, I'm going to move forward with the project.
So the ranking member of our committee basically took my thunder, was because obviously if I'm going to talk about the Gateway Tunnel, I'm going to talk about Amtrak that goes through it all the time. Because I do have some information. I mean, there over 200 million passengers travel each year by approximately 2,100 trains that run on the corridor each day, and this includes an average of 122,000 riders each and every day. So my question is, when we are reducing the funding towards Amtrak, that obviously has a lot of outstanding needs with so many people in it running, 24/7. They need to have trains in good repair and systems in good repair. So if we're taking this money away from them, are you anticipating replacing that loss to Amtrak from another account? And if so, what might that be?
So I'm committed to making sure Amtrak functions well and serves people. And if I could just underscore this point, yesterday we announced we are going to rebuild Penn Station. Now, if Gateway doesn't happen, does it make sense to do Penn Station? Probably not. And a lot of good work to be done, but it's also in New York, and it's trains, and we are fully engaged going through that process. And the announcement, came out yesterday. So I do care about the service that's provided, and I'm making investments to make sure that along the track we are going to well serve the people who ride.
I appreciate that. I have two really quick questions. Number one is, do you have any idea why Amtrak refused or did not put in a request?
I could double check that. I'm not sure. I could.
My last little tiny question has to do with the safety issues that the secretary raised.
He's so generous.
Only because you're retiring
And you don't have to deal with me anymore. I
and
know.
all those great things that were said about you this morning in our markup. Go ahead, we'll permit it.
Yeah. Are you a member of the board? Amtrak
Yeah, I have a designee on the board. Yes,
Okay, so
but I don't.
you don't know why they didn't?
Well, I have
I'm curious.
S2 sits on the board, and who, by the way, is one who actually loves Amtrak a lot and cares about it. And listen, you're not going. We're going to be in a good place.
Okay. I'm gonna ask my colleague to ask that other question, that little tiny question I had.
You're
The safety,
you're finished.
safety and security for licensing of commercial trucks. You refer to it as a problem that we're having, and you kept saying that, you kept implying that it was non-American folks that were responsible for this. Do you have data that supports that they're the only ones, and what percentage of it are immigrants that are
Very
driving
quickly,
these
very
trucks?
quickly. We
Thank
got to
you.
move on.
So yeah,
Okay, can I get an answer?
I'll provide data, but as a percentage, I think we're seeing a lot of these crashes. But I'll look at the data and send it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Watson Coleman. Sheriff.
It was 2 minutes over, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Duffy, it's great to see you again. And, one of my favorite parts of this job is nominating high school students to attend our military academies. And you meet some of the best and brightest of our children. And we, particularly as a coastal community representative, not only is Annapolis very important in our selection process, but also I push very heavily on the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, which I was really glad to hear you bring that up, because I want to focus my questioning around our maritime industry and the needs there. And having seen your frequent visits to the Merchant Marine Academy campus, it's clear to me that you and I share that pride in our students at the Merchant Marine Academy. But you mentioned, even in your opening remarks, and I was glad to hear that, because I know what a focus you're putting on that. And I was also glad to hear the chairman kind of pick up that challenge to look at the Merchant Marine Academy and the really desperate needs there from a facility standpoint, modernization and rehabilitation of that campus. I know there's an academy modernization plan, and if you could talk just a little bit about that and how you think this committee, I want this subcommittee to hear about the Merchant Marine Academy as it exists now and where you think it should be going.
Congressman, I appreciate the question. I don't mean to keep calling him Mr. Clyburn, but he mentioned that the rating on our roads is a C. The rating for the buildings at the Merchant Marine Academy are an F.
Correct.
It's deplorable the way these kids are living. They didn't have hot water for 4 months. They did a dishwasher that didn't work, so they're eating off paper plates and plastic forks. And so one of the problems that the committee had, and I think this is fair, is you'd sent money and the money wasn't being invested and spent. And the point you made to me was, hey, why are we going to give you more money if you can't spend the money that we've already given you? And I think that's a fair point from this body. We have hired the Army Corps. We have their A team from the Army Corps. They've developed a plan. But one of the issues is that there's so much work just to keep it operational, and I mean, keeping buildings from falling down, that a lot of the money goes to that. So I would say to the tune of, I mean, if this is the proposal and it's going to come in at, for capital improvement, 70 million, shut it down, send the kids home. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to. I want you to make the investment. But sometimes we can forget about shipping. Well, today we see how important shipping is. It is, I mean, almost all our products move on ships. And do we want to have American sailors sail those ships? If we come into times of conflict, these are the men and women who sail those ships to back up our military. They're a critical, part of national security, and I think they're worth it. But we can't. If we did it really quick, it would be about $1.5 billion. If we take a long time, it's going to be $3 billion. But every academy is getting, $600 million for this. Some are getting brand new stadiums, and these kids don't have hot water. Right. And I would tell you, just please go see the young men and women. They're going to graduate on the 20th or 22nd of June. Come and see them. And you'll say they're worth the investment. They're worth the time. We should not cede the maritime industry to some foreign country. It should be ours. We were the best, and we should be the best in the future.
Amen. Thank you. And secondly, let me follow that up with another issue here, and that is our U.S. maritime recruitment that I know you're behind. When I look at the two recent Jones Act waivers, the 60-day and the 90-day, that's 150 days that our U.S. flag vessels are not being utilized when they're available. Now, under the 501A waiver that's asked for by the Secretary of Defense, that precludes any even look for Jones Act vessel availability. If the waiver is under the 501B, that's done by the Department of Homeland Security, and then there's a look. MARAD has an opportunity to look, and if there's a Jones Act vessel available, they get that call as opposed to a foreign flag vessel. Can you talk about the importance of supporting our supply chain integrity and resiliency and the impact that these waivers are having on that?
So if first of all, that it did come from War and Homeland together. We were advised at the end that this was going to happen, but we were not consulted. But if we can figure out how we get cargo on ships, we're going to get shipbuilding back in America. And I think that's some work we can all do together, because I think we want to build ships in America. But if you think that this is like cabotage, so we don't let a foreign carrier fly into the U.S., pick up passengers in New York, and then fly to California. Right. We prohibit that. You can't do it. And it's the same philosophy in maritime. Right, you can come in, but you can't sail around our ports. And I think if we didn't have the Jones Act, we wouldn't have a maritime industry at all. Right. And so this is a unique time, and we'll get through this time. And I don't see long-term waivers, but in this moment, I thought, again, War has different and probably better information on what they're seeing than I had, and so I don't. I'm not going to comment on the decision they had to make. But thank you for bringing that up.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. And for the record, both sides are now even on time. Ms. Torres.
Maybe not for long. Secretary Duffy, thank you so much for being here today. I do appreciate you being here. The city of Claremont, the city of Claremont was deemed ineligible for a fiscal year 2025 Safe Streets for All grant because one of your staff missed an email.
Missed an email?
Missed an email. But Secretary, mistakes happen. I get it. But the city of Claremont shouldn't be penalized for an in-house error or be forced to pay thousands more in filing for a new application. My ask of you today is to cure this mistake with the City of Claremont. They are asking for their fiscal year 25 application to be considered in fiscal year 26 without having to reapply. If they have to reapply, then they are going to have to cover the costs, thousands of dollars that they spent in the original application. I have an email here. I don't want to put it to the record. I'm happy to give it to your staff, which is the email that was missed by one of the staff.
I would welcome that. And if that ever happens in the future and you want to text me so I can work on remedying that more quickly, I would welcome a text from you to say, let's make this right now, not for the next cycle.
I appreciate that.
I will take a look at that.
I really appreciate that and your openness to discuss all of these different issues offline with us. I will reach out to you on some of the priorities that we have. I represent a freight corridor, the LA, including priorities for the LA 28 games. One of those is going to take place literally like 20 seconds from my front door. So I invite you to come and spend some time in my district during that time and bring that beautiful
at your house
family.
maybe, or
yes,
I'm not sure.
Of course. So look, much has been said already in other committees that I don't want to talk about in that way about the road trip. I do want to say personally that it warmed my heart. It brought to me a lot of memories of my childhood, growing up in a UAW household and being able to afford to take camping trips in the summer, in the winter. A road trip is a great way to show off our beautiful national parks, especially as we celebrate our 250th birthday. It's unfortunate that President Trump is making road trips unaffordable because of his illegal war in Iran, the tariffs, and a complete disregard for struggles of working families. The closest the families that I represent will get to seeing the beautiful sights is hopefully they'll watch on YouTube or whatever other channel that road trip that you were in, because I think it was beautiful. Your trip was filmed over the course of 7 months, 24 days between September 2025 and May 2026. I want to submit, Chairman, for the record, this article which states that during the 43-day Republican government shutdown, we had air traffic controller, high absences, people working without pay, that at the very least 3 of those days of that trip, the Secretary was on that trip. Can I put this to the record?
Without objection.
Thank you. Secretary Duffy, between September 2025 and May 2026, the National Transportation Safety Board Aviation Accident Database states that there were over 900 aviation accidents, 167 of them fatal. We have major DOT issues that you've outlined in your opening statement. And while I also want to celebrate the 250th birthday, we have a lot of urgent needs. You have a lot on your plate. I don't envy the work that you have on your plate. You stated that working remotely didn't affect your job performance. Being the Secretary of Transportation is a 24/7 job. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle were convulsing when the former Secretary of Transportation took parental leave when his twins were unfortunately ill and hospitalized. So I want you to explain to us, or just talk to us about how did you manage that remote work? Is there anything that you can suggest to us as more and more of our staffs are asking to be allowed to do some of that work?
I'm going to allow him to answer the question. I just want to remind the subcommittee here that we have a 5-minute rule for a reason. And if you're going to spend most of your time editorializing, that's your call. But to be respectful of everybody else's time, let's hasten along, Mr. Secretary.
Sure. Listen, I appreciate the kind question.
I didn't want this to be a negative thing. I want you to talk about
Let him answer.
working.
Let him
Yes.
answer.
I don't take it. I appreciate the question, actually. So just to be clear for the committee, this was done to celebrate, as you mentioned, America 250. With my own mother, who passed away a couple of years ago, my dad wouldn't come with us, but my mom would drive us from Wisconsin to Arizona, or Wisconsin to California, or Wisconsin to Florida. Some of the finest memories I had with her, and as she had a long death, the kids talked to her about the road trips. And I've done those with my own kids. And I think it's a great way. You guys all are from beautiful places, and I know you want people to come to California as well. So to incentivize people to see their country, I think is a beautiful thing. And I'm not, I know you're not saying they shouldn't, but, and it's one thing that actually unites us is the 250th birthday, but also the beauty of our country. That brings us together. And so this was run through the career ethics that worked for me in the last administration and well beyond, that said, yes, this makes sense. It was in partnership with a nonprofit. It's in conjunction with America 250 and Freedom 250. And this body has told me that one of my jobs is to promote travel and tourism. I didn't make any money. I don't get anything. I did it with my children.
But how did you manage
to film it? And so to that question,
remote.
I think that's a great question. But if you mentioned the shutdown, I think between everybody here, I was sick of seeing myself at airports all over this country. I was everywhere.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. We appreciate that.
I did it in a way.
We appreciate that. I'm going to reclaim the time here.
Okay. Just getting going, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
I want our members, heed the gavel, Mr. Zinke.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, how are you, sir?
Congressman.
And I wish you would have went to Montana during your trip. I'm glad actually you were on the front line looking at the roads as your job would entail, as I did when I was secretary.
Maybe I did go to Montana. I just got to tune in.
Let's talk about Montana really quick. You're from Wisconsin, from Montana. You know, it's rural out there, and a lot of it is our essential air service. I see in the budget on page 23 your recommendation is to identify a cut of $308 million of the EAS program. You know, Montana way out there, some of it's regulatory, some of these security systems are adding a lot of cost, and we're not Chicago. We're Kalispell, we're Butte, Montana, and some of these regulations may make sense in Newark, but they don't make a lot of sense out there. And on the cut, we would just want to make sure and have your commitment that you'll look at those and make sure we don't cut services, but cut regulation, which will end in the same place. Less money was spent, but the services, I think, are essential. So if I could have your commitment, you'll take a look at that with us and make sure we don't cut the services behind the EAS program.
Don't want to cut services. I had EAS airports in my district, and I would just, as we didn't have funding for EAS during the shutdown, the president I was in constant contact with him. We found resources to keep EAS operational, so we didn't lose service to the rural parts of America during that shutdown, the 43 days. So I think that underscores the commitment that I have with the president to making sure that that we continue to provide for the rural parts of the country.
Not that appropriations is American interest or American Indians and tribal centric, but those smaller communities, you know, serve our reservations and our Indian nations as well. Let's turn really quick to drones. Love drones, but it's been a topic for a long time. I first started working in drones in 2003, and the attitude from the Department of Transportation is, you know how we safely fly drones? We just don't fly them. So when is the integration program of the drone integration into the NAS? Where is that? Are we going to give the drones 500 feet and below? Or are we still going to require them to have pilot's license? Or are we going to have Europe run roughshod over us on their ability to fly drones and technology? Where is the drone program in your assessment, and how can we move forward safely?
That's a fantastic question, and just to take one of your points.
Of course, I said it.
I don't want somewhere else to dominate the drone industry. A lot of information can come off of a drone for those who may not like us so much. We want American drone dominance. And so we have put out rules that allow it easier for a lot of these manufacturers and service providers to navigate in the NAS. And it does go to the point that we are going to have a more complicated airspace with drones and with eVTOLs, and how we manage that becomes critical, and what kind of beacon or squawk does each of these have is critical to safety, but also making sure that we can continue to innovate in the country. I think we're going to all see, not in New York, not in DC, but we're going to see drone deliveries far more frequently. It's happening in a lot of cities, but I think it's going to happen more frequently around the country.
And does the department have an articulated plan on milestones and timelines for integration into the NAS?
We did. We put out a proposal, and I can send that over to you as well. And by the way, we're trying to manage. There's the commercial side of it. There's also, as you know this all too well, there's a military side of drones as well, and trying to marry those two things together on the national security front, but also allowing the commercial side of the innovation to happen is what we're working with WAR on right now to make sure we can do both.
I think we're both hogging the same sheet. We want to make sure we dominate drones, but some of it is precision farming, wildlife management, all those things that can be done more efficiently, and I appreciate your work on it. And with that, with the time, I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Espaillat.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary, it's been about a year since you were last here. We were talking about air traffic controllers back then. I speak to the controllers often, and they're really unsung heroes and deserve our full support. I wanted to ask you that the House THUD bill provides resources that should lead to the hiring of an additional 2,300 controllers. That target number is not necessarily easy to obtain. I know that we're investing in the academy, but every candidate cannot go up and down to Oklahoma. Anybody from Oklahoma here? But I'm proud of my work to design and establish the Charles B. Rangel Infrastructure Workforce Initiative at City College in New York, which brings young talent from Harlem, the Bronx, and the Heights into the trades and onto jobs like Gateway, Second Avenue subways. It had more than 1,000 enrollees last year. I want to know if there's room for this type of initiatives to also build the capacity for ATC candidates, and are you willing to work with us?
We do have schools that we have a program where they can be trained in, and if you have a college or a school that would like to talk to us about how they could apply and make that happen, I would be happy to do that. Could I just make one other point on the controllers? One part is getting the controllers into the academy, and that's important. Getting the right students into the academy. Didn't think I've told you this, but we are paying controllers who are of the age where they can retire. They're the most experienced controllers that we have, and I want them to stay. So we've offered them a 20% upfront cash bonus for every year they'll stay. I mean, again, new controllers are great, but they got to get trained up. If you have a controller that you already have the expertise, we don't want to lose them. And I've had, I think, at least 600 controllers have taken us up on that, and so we're trying to think of it through every different lens of keeping more in, and happy to work with you on the school that could bring more kids from Harlem into air traffic control.
Thank you so much. Now, local hiring, our aspirations as members of Congress and representing our districts is that some of these projects like Gateway, Second Avenue subway, my district, and of course, Penn Station, which was announced this week, that we have local hiring, that people from our communities, our constituencies get those opportunities. How are you guys committed to local hiring?
I got to look at the policies and the NOFOs and the proposals. I think it's hard for a community when, to your point, you bring in an outside workforce from some far out place, instead of not just giving jobs, but giving training to people in your community where the projects happen. I think that's always best. But the requirement on local hiring, I'm not sure that I have that, but I would be happy to talk to you about it, and maybe we can modify how we do the NOFOs. I'd love to discuss it with you,
because I think many of these projects, in my case, Second Avenue subway, we don't want it just to be 3 subway stops. We want it to be an economic engine for the community to move forward together with that initiative.
100%.
And I look forward to working with you. Finally, Mr. Secretary, DHS Secretary Mark Ray Mullen just told travel executives that he's serious about curbing international flights to U.S. airports in cities with sanctuary policies, which obviously could force airlines to reroute and inflict economic pain on travelers. What's your position on that?
Well, I'm not familiar with the statement from the secretary. Listen, I view what I do through the lens of America, and I think all of you could attest that that's the way I've run this department. Because again, I can't separate your district from my hometown because we all travel through each other's districts. So I'd like to take a look at his comments and get the context, and not even ask him a question of what he meant by that. But we have people from around the world and around the country that need to be able to fly into all different kinds of places. We shouldn't shut down air travel in a state that doesn't agree with our politics. It's again because, by the way, that role will be reversed, right? We're going to switch. We all switch. You all switch spots at one point. Hopefully, not too soon, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'll take that as an answer, and I'll yield back. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you,
Mr. Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's always a pleasure to see you, Secretary Duffy.
good to see you.
First question, I think I asked you last time, you were going to look into it. I'm going to bring it up again just to refresh your recollection, but it involves the Port Infrastructure Development Program, and they have substantial investments in your ports nationwide. But since fiscal year 2019, the funding of the Great Lakes, despite playing a critical role, obviously, in domestic manufacturing, energy, transportation, strategic material movement, and supply chain resilience, these ports are essential economic and national security assets, and the continued investment will help us for our long-term competitiveness and the livelihood of the region. As the department looks ahead to future PIDIP, I shortened that, PIDIP, awards and broader infrastructure investments, how can DOT better position Great Lake ports to compete for federal funding opportunities? And additionally, what opportunities do you see in which we could expand federal investment in the Great Lakes and inland systems to strengthen domestic supply chains, economic resilience, and long-term regional competitiveness?
It'd be helpful to have a secretary who actually understood the Great Lakes, maybe lived on the Great Lakes, was near the Great Lakes.
That's why you got that one.
I'm from Wisconsin, and I lived actually in Ashland, Wisconsin, where I was the prosecutor there. By the way, it's beautiful. But I think there's so many needs. And I think it's a competition between where are the biggest needs, where's the biggest bang for the buck. But I will put some attention on to the Great Lakes, more so than I've been able to at this point, because we're trying to get some of these other projects out. But I will, and maybe we can work together on where do we get the biggest bang for the dollars we put in. But we can't forget the Great Lakes. It's an incredibly important artery that is beautiful and important for this country.
Thank you. And we just want to be competitive in the grant aware announcements. And if you can't get to it, I'm going to sick Marcy Captor on you. And Marcy is a storm when it comes to these things.
It's great.
Another question I have for you is, in the wake of the East Palestine derailment, rail safety and system resilience remain a major focus for communities surrounding my district and for Congress as a whole. One area that has received less attention in this conversation is the software systems railroads use to dispatch and route trains through there. In 2024, the FRA stated there are currently no regulations supporting the oversight of train dispatching software. These computer-aided dispatch systems provide rail operators with real-time information on train locations, track occupancy, and such. Given the rail industry's growing reliance on these technologies, how is the department and the FRA evaluating the safety and resiliency of train dispatching software today?
In the software, I don't have an answer for you right now, but I will take a look at that, and I could circle back to you with FRA. But rail safety, and we saw with East Palestine how tragic that was and the long-term implications. And one of the things I think that we do actually very well, whether it's in whatever mode of transportation we're talking about, when bad things happen and we don't want that because we're safety driven, but we actually learn from what's happened and try to improve our systems so we don't make the same mistakes over and over again. We continue to get safer with better policy and better equipment.
Well, this is one of the things that's being bantered about now and downstairs in the T&I hearing. But should additional federal standards, oversight, and reporting mechanisms be considered by the department or Congress to help prevent widespread operational disruptions and strengthen rail safety?
Oh, listen, I think there's a lot that can be done in this body when you look at rail safety. And there's the Rail Safety Act, I know, which is being considered right now. Is it downstairs? Is this where this is happening? I know where the financial services room is. But yeah, I know that's being considered right now. But there's a lot we can do to continue to drive safety. And it's rail is one of these things that you can forget about if you don't work in it or you don't have rail close to you, but it's critical. Whether it's shipping or rail, the country doesn't work without these important modes of transportation. So I'm interested to see what the committee does and how they consider the Rail Safety Act.
Certainly,
but a lot of good things in there.
Certainly appreciate it. Thank you. Keep up the great work. I yield back.
Thank you.
Mr. Quigley.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Secretary, let's have a deal. Lightning round, 3 quick questions, 3 quick answers.
Then we're done?
All big, yeah, I'll write you a note.
Okay.
But you talked about big bang for your buck. O'Hare, busiest airport.
Yep.
Most flights transfer through there. You mentioned the tower there.
Yep.
Because that one tower is so understaffed, we got a runway that's barely used and it's brand new. How close are we to addressing that?
So first, I can be kind of quick and not really quick because you're right. It's if you've been up in the tower, the airport is massive, and how that airport functions is a testament to the great controllers that we have. But I do, in the request that I'm going to make, again, you have 3 towers. I do think that if we get a new tower and we get better visibility, I think you're going to get better performance out of the airport. And again, as a Wisconsin guy from rural Wisconsin, it's one of the main arteries that we travel through.
If you want to go see a Packer game, you got to go through O'Hare, so that's fine. But we just respect this so we can finish.
We didn't get to the Bears this last year, which was challenging for us. It's been a long time.
I'm with you, but look, we just got to get it staffed. The red line extension, and it's hard for Chicagoans not to see that as some degree of vindictiveness of holding it back, and it drives up costs and it puts risk. But I'll just put this in perspective. Big bang for your buck. Amtrak, 34 million riders a year. Chicago Transit Authority, 338 million. It means the world to the Southland to extend that. And these delays make it more and more expensive. Can we get through this and not have to have a court order to get the money continually going through there to extend?
And vindictive, not. I've without even you asking me, we'll tell everyone you did ask me. But listen, I'm looking at O'Hare. I haven't had any issue with Chicago, but it was how they were contracting. And we're in a good place now. Money's going, flowing to the project. What I would ask you, I think we do all have to work together. We do have to drive better safety. We do need better policies in place so riders are safe. And I think that's just good government. You'll get even more riders on your system.
Well, let me just stop you for a second.
Yeah.
This week I met with 3 bus drivers who had been involved in crime scenes, and they were victims of this. And we talked about what CTA can do better. So I acknowledge that, but you don't help when you cut money. Instead, let's talk about changes in policies, but can you help us get more security? And, it's a lot easier to meet in the middle where we don't all yell at each other.
100%.
So let's keep talking on that.
Just on that one, if I could just quickly, I don't want to be the one that cares the most about it. I think, locally, if there's a lot of care, if we can talk on a plan on what you'll do on safety and then what you're going to need me to come on the back end and help you with, I'm all in. I don't want to fight on anything.
Passed the law where we're actually merging Metra, PACE, CTA functions, and we'll get there, and they're going to have a security force. So that's part of meeting in the middle. To keep us on track, the interchange, everything being biggest and best there, Interstate 294 and Interstates 290, 88, this matters to the whole country because all the freight runs through this. The largest freight corridor in the United States, and obviously the improvements that are necessary there. This funding has not been obligated yet. and the delays are impacting IDOT's ability to move forward with Phase 2 of the project. So for my friends in Indiana and Ohio and Iowa and Wisconsin, this is where everybody goes through. So if you don't have it now, if you could get back to us.
What was that again? What's the
It's the interchange of Interstate 294 and Interstates 290, 88 in the Chicago region, the most congested freight interchange in the United States, according to the American Transport Research Institute. IDOT was awarded a $95.6 federal mega contract in 2024 for the interchange project.
Okay, I have a list of all the.
You could look into that.
I will, because I have all the list of grants that have not gone yet.
Okay.
And I don't have that one on, so I'd welcome
Very good.
that follow-up.
Let us know, and we return the time.
We'll work with your team. That was rapid fire.
Thank you. Mr. Strong.
Thank you, Chairman Womack, Ranking Member Clyburn. Mr. Secretary, I congratulate you. I noticed we had Chairman Cole here, Chairman Rogers, Ranking Member DeLauro. I mean, you bring all the heavyweights in here. Everybody likes to see the Secretary of Transportation, and I think everybody's been very good on this dais. I think we ought to all get extra project for each one of us, but that's just my opinion. Secretary Duffy, thank you for being here today. It's good to see you again. Also glad to see members of your staff that have joined us today. I know it's a hard job what they do. I appreciate your commitment to the American people and making the effort to see America's transportation industry firsthand, meeting with civil servants and specialists to keep this country running. I would be proud to host you in Rocket City, USA, Alabama's 5th Congressional District. Feel free to bring the wife and kids. We'll take you to Space Camp and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and I know you'll have a great time there. You start looking at the district, the work building up to our nation's infrastructure, modernization, and aviation systems, and ensuring federal dollars deliver real results for taxpayers. My district in North Alabama is home to Redstone Arsenal, where more than 45,000 people commute through the gates every day, making it the single largest employment site in the state of Alabama. Secretary Duffy, before thousands of Redstone civil servants, contractors, and service members can get on this base to carry out those critical missions, many face severe traffic congestion and infrastructure constraints surrounding the installation. These transportation bottlenecks do more than create commuter frustration. They affect operational efficiency and create vulnerability around facilities essential to our national security. My district has seen firsthand how transportation investments directly affect economic growth, innovation, and national security. I'd like to thank Chairman Womack for including $350 million in the build grant funding for direct investment in high growth areas, including the Huntsville metropolitan area. I served 26 years in local government, and I'm just telling you, I saw firsthand what these grants can do in local government. Serving as the chairman of the Madison County Commission, at that time the 3rd largest county in the state of Alabama, and now the 2nd largest county. As the department evaluates build discretionary grant applications for projects like road widening, congestion relief, and capacity improvements, how will you implement target investments in high growth areas like Huntsville? And are you taking into account factors such as proximity to key national security assets in high growth areas?
So first off, I had NASA for a great 4 months, and I was going to go to take my kids to space camp, and I never did. Probably one of my regrets, and I could have come down and seen your district. I think I mentioned this before, but the country's changing, and we have to try to meet the needs of the growth areas. And I'd like to come down because nothing, you don't get the same perspective when you talk about it versus when you actually come and see it. But I have heard the stories about the congestion that you have in your district and how challenging it is. And men and women who are providing great service to our country are having challenges getting to and from work. But that's we don't have, and you don't give me an endless amount of money. And so figuring out what the right priorities are and what those bottlenecks are is what we work through. We're trying to use public-private partnerships for some of them where it can work to maximize our dollars or our loan capacity to build more. Can I make one pitch with that? I know you do have a minute left, but if there's a way that we can all work together and everyone has projects that they want done, if we could permit them faster, we're going to spend less money. And that doesn't mean permit, just say yes. There might be issues with an environmental review that we just don't do a project, but they can't take 4 or 5. And if we can do that better, we can build so much more. And when 40% of a project can go to the permitting process versus turning dirt, I can get so much more done. And that's a bipartisan thing we have to do together, and I hope we would, and still be responsive to the environment, but also have the money to build in all these places, which I think is important.
I totally agree. And another thing that I think that should be taken into account, the states and local government need to get skin in the ball game. If it's a number one priority in their area, they've got to find a way to bring dollars to the table, and I think that ought to be given consideration when you do it. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you.
That's always helpful when the states will give some money, put some skin in the game. It's always helpful for us.
Mr. Aguilar.
Thank you, Chairman Womack and Ranking Member Clyburn, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being back here before us today. Mr. Secretary, I was disappointed to see the FY27 PBR, the lack of critical funding for the LA Olympic and Paralympic Games, which will be held in Southern California, where Mrs. Torres and I represent. President Trump touted the games at the State of the Union this year, and don't worry, I stood up and clapped when he mentioned it. I know you guys.
Thank you for that.
I know you guys monitor that sometimes, so you can roll the tape. I had a decent seat, and you yourself have called these America's games. Yet the budget request doesn't reflect that enthusiasm. For historical context, a Republican-controlled Congress provided $2.1 billion in inflation-adjusted numbers for the 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Games. While I was glad to see the THUD bill we marked up this morning included $875 million for LA 28, thank you, Chairman Womack. It's an improvement from last year, despite the offset that we have concerns about. It still falls short of what's needed to showcase our country on the world stage. Mr. Strong talked about local impact and local skin in the game. The funding that we have proposed pales in comparison to the $17 billion our regional stakeholders have already invested in their own funds. So we have that skin in the game. I wanted to ask a few specific questions. First, will you and the administration commit to supporting LA 28 with the similar federal backing that U.S. hosted games have received in the past?
So obviously every community is different and all the needs are different, but to your question, I think is, are you going to lean in and support the Olympics in LA? And the answer to that is yes. I was actually...
You know they're in 28, right? You know they're coming up. Okay.
They're coming up. And I know that the group from LA was here today and wanted to meet, and our team meets quite a bit with them. I'm here with you, so I didn't meet with them. But we want to, listen, this is not LA. It is, but it's America. Like, we're showcasing America. And I think this is the point you're making as well, beyond the security component of the Olympics, which is the biggest part of it. The second biggest thing is transportation and making sure I don't want you to have gridlock. That reflects poorly on all of us. I want a seamless system. We have to work with LAX. We have to, I think, is it Archer is going to do the eVTOLs, but making sure we have the amount of money necessary for transit, bringing buses in, bringing drivers in, having mechanics in to make the flow happen. I commit to working with you to make that happen and with this committee, because this reflects on all of us.
To what level is DOT coordinating and working? You just mentioned, obviously, the two big components are the transportation and buses and the homeland side on the security. So what efforts are underway to work closely between those two agencies?
So us in Homeland?
Yeah, you and Homeland. With regional stakeholders and transit operators,
there's a task force that's all working together with the different aspects of the federal government with the Olympics. But then we also specifically meet with the Olympics. And what our role is technical assistance for the most part. They're on the ground telling us their needs, what their thought process is on the routes and the plan, and what streets are open, what's closed, and we provide assistance in how they're thinking through they're going to operate the transit system for the games.
And do you feel...
You get both the Paralympics as well, right after.
Exactly. Yeah, I mentioned the Paralympics in the question. And your commitment is to push whatever resources this committee comes up with, whatever that top line number is, your commitment is to get that out the door in advance, realizing, this is coming up. I mean, this isn't just, planning money out in the future. And based on where we had been historically, we are behind.
I'll shake hands with you if you want. No, I commit to getting.
You already
money out.
offered your text, for us to text you. And nobody, I'll tell you, to be honest, nobody on this side has your number to text. So it's very kind of you to offer.
Just for clarity, I get more texts from Democrats than my friends on the Republican side of the aisle on projects. So I'll
nobody
share
on this committee. So that's fine.
Maybe that's good.
Congress, and this gets a little friend group sometimes, and maybe. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm going to text you back though. That's the problem. I don't have your number too. But no, I commit to working with you, and I'll get the money out, and I want these games. And as I think you quoted the president. He also recognizes that he's in office when these games go off. We want to showcase the country, and just even with, you have big FIFA games coming as well, which I think if I can make it out, I'm going to come to the games on the 12th. Is it the 12th? In LA, I don't know.
I'm going to be here, so I don't know.
It's a Friday. But anyway, we've sent money there too to all the different communities that you gave us $100 million, and we've divvied that up based on all the number of games each of the communities have. And I think you had $9 million in LA for the games.
I think that's right.
For transit.
We have to make these, games work. As you mentioned, I appreciate you, we agree. These are America's games.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they're adequately resourced and we get the money out the door. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If you stick around, I'll give you my number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ciscomani, bring us home.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for being here. I know you know Arizona well. We'd love to have you back where your schedule permits. There's some great things to see that I want to show you there. But the first one that I want to talk about is bus safety. And I think it was briefly touched on a second ago. Growing up in Tucson, my dad was a bus driver, so he drove buses first for the school district, and then he drove buses for the city for Suntran. So ensuring that those behind the wheel of a bus full of people feel safe and secure is a top priority of mine for the bus drivers themselves, but also for the people that they're carrying in the bus. Since 2020, the city of Tucson has operated under a no fares on buses. And this has led to an increase in assaults on bus drivers, a tremendous increase, actually. I want to give you a few headlines here of examples of what I'm talking about. In July of 2022, this is the headline: female Suntran driver assaulted at Tohono O'odham bus terminal. On June 28th of 2025, this was the headline: Suntran bus driver assaulted by a knife-wielding man. On September 9th of 2025, bus driver assaulted as a suspect threw rocks at the driver. The suspect got off the bus and jumped onto another bus in the same direction. These are just a few examples. We're seeing hundreds of disturbing reports like this all over the country, not just in Tucson. Can you update us on your agency's efforts to stop cities like the city of Tucson from putting our transit operators in harm's way?
So first, I was a bus driver myself. That's where I first got my commercial driver's license, for 7 months. So no, I take your point seriously. I don't have a lot of authority. Right, but to your point, one of the greatest success stories has been in San Francisco. They stopped fare evasion on their subway, and crime plummeted. There's a correlation. If you open the systems up, you start to see more crime and the criminal element come in. And I can't leverage the city to do the right thing, but hopefully the community would step up and look at the data and push their leaders to stop some of the policies that are not helping but inhibiting safety.
Well, this is definitely, no question, a majority responsibility or actually all responsibility on the local city council and mayor and decisions there to make these fares basically free and having the consequences that I just talked about. I do want to explore different ways. You mentioned the word leverage, different ways that we can, at a federal level, also try to impact this, because it's a safety issue, as you mentioned. I mean, you have CDL holder. My dad was as well before he retired. This is a serious issue, and it's getting worse. So I do want to explore ways that we can probably look at something there that we we could do. I have to explore every avenue when the city where I live in, the major city in my district, it's not going to go the right direction. We need help.
I appreciate you bringing up the safety on our buses and our just the transit system. That's too much. I think our country deserves better. Our people
Absolutely.
deserve better, and it takes leadership. And it's hard to. We don't want to do the leadership. That's not federal leadership. The communities need to lean in and serve people better, and we have to say this is for people moving from point A to point B. And if we have a homelessness problem, well, transit's not the place for. Let's deal with homelessness, but let's not put them on transit. Let's not put criminals on transit. We have to reserve that for the good people who pay for it that need it.
I would take the bus when I was a kid to and from one of the first high school that I attended after football practice, and late in the evening. That's not something that kids do anymore. You just can't. You're not safe in that. Just a minute left. I'm going to drop this question real quick. You already kind of talked about this. The Terminal Radar Approach Control Facility, TRACON on Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. I've heard directly from the Air Force traffic controllers working there about the deterioration of the tower along with unsafe, outdated work equipment. Would ADOT be willing to look into the infrastructure needs here of what we were seeing on the air traffic controlling overall?
I would welcome that. Just the needs are so great. And we're getting out $1.7 billion that we had. That money's moving. Some of the towers are not ready to take it, but I'd be happy to work with you. But there's a huge need you guys are gonna have to deal with in the out years here, and everybody has a problem. By the way, Congressman Clyburn's getting money for his airport.
The air traffic controllers work hard, and I think this is one of the most bipartisan issues we'll find. We all need
100%.
this, and we'll gladly work with you on that. Mr. Chairman, I yield back 2 seconds.
American safety.
Thank you, Mr. Ciscomani. And that completes our round of questions. I'm going to, before I close, yield to my friend, the ranking member, for any closing comments he'd like to make. Jim?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. I'm a great lover of history. I am not proud of all of our history, but I love all of it. In South Carolina, we have 3 National Heritage Corridors. The South Mountain National Heritage Corridor, the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor, that's the Low Country, and we have the we call it a Southern Campaign Heritage Corridor. That's a Southern campaign of the Revolutionary War. I don't want you all to mistake our reputation for having started the Civil War. I studied the Civil War, but I'm not proud of the heritage. So you're invited to South Carolina because all these heritage corridors are in South Carolina, though I don't know what congressional district they're in for another week or so. But I would love to see a tour like you've conducted to bring attention to the real history of this country. I think if you consider a trip like that to one or all 3 of these heritage corridors, it would be welcome in South Carolina, and I think it would highlight a history that all of us ought to grow to be proud of. Now, we also have 3 national parks. And you can come and go to the national parks. All 6 of these 3 parks, these 3 heritage corridors, are creations of yours truly. And so I would like to have you come down and bring some attention to it. I think your road trip will do that for us.
Well, I don't
look forward to doing that sometime between now and November.
Congressman, can I just quickly, 30 seconds? Sure. I can't tell you what and where the road trip went, but they could have gone to Charleston, and they could have gone to the marina there that goes from the mountains all the way down through into the ocean, and it's a beautiful place. And I'll take you up on your invitation. But just if I can make one last point, the infrastructure needs of South Carolina. You mentioned the growth of South Carolina. It's per capita, not total growth, but per capita growth. It's huge, and there's real needs of roads and even evacuation routes in South Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure where all the road show went, but if in fact it didn't go certain places where you've been invited and the roadshow comes back, understand you will be welcomed with open arms and without any criticism from this panel.
There's no season 2, I'll guarantee you that.
We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
You will be most welcome in the great Northwest Arkansas. The chair detects that we have a few interns that are in the audience here today, maximizing their opportunity to see government in action from a very practical standpoint. Mr. Secretary, if you would, when this is over today, if you would stay for just a moment, give these kids an opportunity to engage you in conversation, maybe take a picture.
I would love that.
It'd be wonderful. Our time is concluded. I want to thank everybody for being here today. There may be some members who have remaining questions that they need answered, and if that's the case, submit those questions for the record. Please do so promptly. Secretary Duffy, again, thank you for your time. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here. We look forward to working with you as we complete the FY27 THUD appropriations process. And with that, our subcommittee is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.